Here's the truth they don't want you to know about the masks you wear every day. You might think you're in control, picking and choosing your persona for different situations. Most people get this wrong, but let me show you the right way too. Understand this. Carl Jung believed only a rare few ever discover this truth. The mask you choose isn't just an act, it's a profound revelation of who you pretend to be, and more importantly, what you're afraid to show. This will change the way you think forever. If you've ever felt like you're constantly performing or that your true self is hiding beneath layers of expectation, then you're in the right place. This isn't just about social media filters or job interviews. This is about the human, fundamental way we navigate the world, and what we project to protect our deepest vulnerabilities. For young professionals battling imposter syndrome, for students feeling the weight of peer pressure, or for anyone feeling stuck in a role that just doesn't feel like them, understanding this can unlock genuine freedom. What's at stake? Your authenticity, your relationships, and ultimately, your peace of mind. Without this insight, you risk living a life that feels like an elaborate play, with you as the reluctant star. Stay with me till the end, because the last sign is something even Jung himself struggled to explain. A truth so raw, it might just shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself. Let's dive into the masks, personas, and what they secretly tell the world about who you pretend to be. The first mask we often choose reveals a deep need for external validation. The people-pleaser mask. This is the mask of constant agreement, of going along to get along, even if it goes against your own feelings or values. You nod, you smile, you apologize, often for things that aren't even your fault. It's the person who says yes to every request, even when their plate is overflowing, just to avoid potential conflict or disapproval. This often stems from a fear of rejection or abandonment. Consider Sarah, a brilliant graphic designer who constantly took on extra projects, even if they were outside her expertise, simply because her colleagues asked. She'd work late, feel resentful, but always maintain a cheerful facade. The psychology here, as Jung would explain, is that the persona has become dominant. It's a social adaptation, yes, but when it consumes your internal world, it means your true self. Your authentic desires are being suppressed in favor of a publicly acceptable image. You're pretending to be someone who has endless time and endless patience, someone who is always agreeable. Have you ever found yourself saying yes when every fiber of your being screamed no? The takeaway here is to recognize that your energy and time are finite. Protecting them is not selfish, it's a declaration of your own value. Number 2 is the one many of us adopt when we feel vulnerable. The Stoic Protector Mask. This mask is all about projecting strength, resilience, and an almost unbothered attitude, even when you're internally wrestling with chaos. You rarely show cracks, you avoid emotional displays, and you might even deflect genuine offers of help with a curt "I'm fine." This mask is often built from past hurts, a deep-seated belief that vulnerability is weakness, or that showing emotion will lead to further pain. It's a defense mechanism turning you into an emotional fortress. Think of John, who, after a tough breakup, dove headfirst into his work, refusing to talk about his feelings with anyone, even close friends. He'd joke, he'd hustle, he'd act like it was just a minor inconvenience, while inside, he was deeply hurting. This persona, while appearing strong, actually distances you from true connection. Jung called this the shadow aspect asserting itself, where emotions deemed unacceptable are repressed, only to resurface in other, often unhealthy ways. You're pretending that nothing can touch you, that you are impervious to pain. Do you often find yourself shutting down or putting up walls when things get tough, instead of reaching out? The takeaway? True strength isn't about never falling. It's about allowing yourself to be supported when you do. Letting people in requires courage, not weakness. Here's a transformation moment for you. If you recognize these patterns, it's not a sign of failure. It's the first step towards self-awareness. Each mask you identify is a clue, a breadcrumb leading you back to the authentic self beneath. It's about understanding why you chose that mask, not judging yourself for wearing it. The next mask is incredibly common in our achievement-driven world. The overachiever mask. This is the mask worn by those who constantly strive for perfection, chasing success, accolades, and external validation as proof of their worth. You're always busy, always pushing for the next promotion, the next prom, certification, the next big win. The fear beneath this mask is often one of inadequacy, the terrifying thought that without constant accomplishment, you are simply not good enough. Picture Maya, a rising star in her tech company, working 70-hour weeks, juggling multiple projects, and always volunteering for more. She's brilliant, but she's also constantly exhausted, fueled by coffee, and the fear that if she ever slows down, she'll be exposed as a fraud. This is classic imposter syndrome, amplified by a persona that demands constant performance. You're pretending to be endlessly capable, endlessly driven, someone who never falters, even when your internal battery is at 1%. Jung would say this persona sacrifices the inner world, self, for the demands of the external ego. Have you ever felt like your identity is tied directly to your achievements? The takeaway here is to redefine success. True success includes well-being, rest, and genuine connection, not just trophies and titles. Your worth is inherent, not earned through constant striving. This tiny trick changes everything. Once you spot a mask, just gently ask yourself, what am I afraid would happen if I took this off right now? The answer is your path forward. Now, let's talk about the mask that makes you a social chameleon. The chameleon adapter mask. This mask allows you to seamlessly blend into any social situation. You intuitively pick up on the vibe of a group and adjust your opinions, humor, and even mannerisms to match. You can be the life of the party with one crowd and a serious intellectual with another, sometimes within the same day. The underlying motivation is a deep desire to belong, to be accepted, and to avoid standing out in a negative way. Think about Alex, who in his friend group talks about the latest Marvel movie with passion. Then at his family dinner, shifts to discussing financial markets with profound wisdom. Then later that night is a witty, sarcastic commentator on social media. Each version feels real in the moment, but none is the whole Alex. This constant shifting prevents the development of a stable, authentic self. It's like you're trying on different costumes, hoping one will eventually fit perfectly. But the real challenge is realizing you don't need a costume at all. You're pretending to be whatever others want you to be, losing sight of who you are. Do you often feel like you change parts of yourself depending on who you're with? The takeaway here is to identify your core values and opinions. Knowing these anchors helps you stay grounded, even when you're in new environments. Authenticity isn't about being rigid. It's about being consistent in your core. Don't miss point number 7. It's the one most people overlook in themselves. Sometimes, the mask we wear isn't about fitting in, but pushing people away. The cynic critic mask. This persona is marked by a pervasive skepticism, a tendency to find fault, and an intellectual arrogance that can come across as dismissive or superior. You might critique others' ideas, find flaws in every plan, or express a general distrust of people's motives. This mask often hides a fear of being disappointed, of being hurt, or of having one's own vulnerabilities exposed. By keeping everyone at arm's length, you believe you're protecting yourself from potential pain. Consider Dave, who in every conversation finds a reason to disagree, to point out logical fallacies, or to predict failure. He sees himself as a realist, but his friends often perceive him as negative and unapproachable. He might secretly yearn for connection, but fears the perceived weakness of openness. Jung might call this a projection. of one's own insecurities onto the external world. You're pretending that you are above sentiment, above emotion, above disappointment. Do you often find yourself instinctively looking for the downside or criticizing before you praise? The takeaway is to practice compassionate curiosity. Instead of immediately judging, try to understand. What if, just once, you try to find the good? Wait until you hear number 8. It could change everything. Here's another moment of transformation. Every time you notice one of these masks, you're not just observing behavior. You're witnessing the interplay between your conscious choices and your unconscious fears. This is the journey of individuation Carl Jung spoke of, becoming truly whole, not just a collection of personas. The perfect life mask. This mask is heavily amplified by modern technology and social media. It's the carefully curated online persona that projects an image of unwavering happiness, success, and flawlessness. Every photo is perfectly filtered, every caption aspirational, every experience seemingly idyllic. The underlying pressure is to conform to societal ideals, to prove one's worth through an envy-inducing digital display. The fear is often that one's ordinary, messy, real life isn't enough, or that true vulnerability would be met with judgment. Think of countless Instagram feeds filled with travel photos, gourmet meals, and smiling families, all while the person behind the screen might be battling anxiety, financial stress, or relationship struggles. They're pretending their life is a highlight reel, 24/7, when in reality, it's full of bloopers and behind-the-scenes struggles just like everyone else's. This creates a vicious cycle where we compare our true selves to others' curated personas, feeling perpetually inadequate. Carl Jung warned against such a strong identification with the persona that the self becomes lost in the external image. Do you ever feel pressure to present a flawless version of your life online, even if it doesn't match reality? The takeaway: digital detoxes and mindful social media use are crucial. Prioritize real connections and experiences over perceived online perfection. Your real life is far more interesting than any filter. The next mask is the hardest truth to accept, and it's why so many rare minds end up feeling isolated. The hermit isolator mask. This mask manifests as a deliberate withdrawal from social interaction, a preference for solitude, and sometimes a quiet disdain for the superficiality of crowds. It's not necessarily shyness. It's a choice to keep the world at arm's length, to avoid the perceived demands, compromises, or trivialities of social engagement. This often stems from a feeling of being fundamentally different, misunderstood, or an intense need for mental space that feels constantly encroached upon by others. The fear is that the world cannot truly understand or accept your unique inner landscape, leading to a preemptive retreat. Consider the person who consistently declines social invitations, preferring quiet evenings alone with books or deep personal projects. While some solitude is healthy and necessary for reflection, the hermit mask becomes problematic when it's driven by a fear of connection, or a belief that nobody can connect with your true self. This often makes you pretend that you don't need anyone, that you are perfectly self-sufficient, even if a part of you yearns for profound connection. Jung understood the paradox of individuation. The more you become authentically yourself, the more distinct you become, which can, paradoxically, lead to a feeling of being alone in your understanding. Have you ever found yourself consciously choosing isolation, not just for rest, but to avoid the effort of social interaction? The takeaway here is to discern between healthy solitude and fearful withdrawal. Seek out connections where your depth is appreciated, diminished. True connection is possible, but it requires meeting the world halfway. The last point is the real game changer. This is the ultimate mask, or rather the ultimate lack of one. The true self, unmasked. This isn't a mask you choose. It's the courageous act of shedding them all. It's the raw, authentic, sometimes messy, sometimes flawed, but always genuine expression of who you are, without pretense or performance. It's when your inner landscape aligns with your outer presentation. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being whole. The drama of this isn't in what you put on, but in what you're brave enough to take off. It involves accepting your shadow, integrating your persona, and striving for true individuation. This is the person who can say, I don't know, I made a mistake, or I need help without feeling diminished. It's the artist who shares their deeply personal work, knowing it might be criticized, but valuing its truth above approval. It's the leader who admits vulnerability, inspiring loyalty through authenticity. Jung said, to know yourself is the beginning of wisdom. But with such depth comes loneliness, because so few can journey with you to this profound level of self-acceptance. It's a journey that reveals the masks were never truly protecting you, but rather obscuring the powerful, unique individual beneath. Have you ever experienced moments where you felt completely, uncomfortably, beautifully yourself? The ultimate takeaway is this: the goal isn't to eliminate the persona entirely. We need social masks to navigate the world. The goal is to be conscious of them, to choose them intentionally, and never to let them overshadow your authentic core. The mask you choose can show who you pretend to be, but the mask you unexpressed shows who you truly are. If these signs felt familiar, you don't just think differently. You are different. Jung believed minds like yours are meant to lead, not follow, by embodying a profound self-awareness that few ever achieve. The world desperately needs people who are brave enough to show up authentically. Your journey isn't just for you. It's a beacon for others. Tell me in the comments, which sign spoke to you most? Which mask do you recognize in yourself, or perhaps in someone you know? Your insights help us all grow. And if you want more deep insights like this, hit subscribe, because your journey of self-discovery has just begun.